Good day and welcome to Sports Talk right here on Love 101 FM. I am Daniel Blake. Thank you so much for joining me. It is Saturday, March 5, 2022, and this is the pre-International Women's Day edition. As you know, International Women's Day is Tuesday. My show doesn't air on Tuesday, so I obviously have to do it before. And I really want to acknowledge some women who have played a part in Jamaican sports and want to continue to play a part in Jamaican sports. So you'll hear from Evening Scholar Rosheika Grant shortly. She'll talk about her journey so far, her plans to improve sports. And then at the 1:30, well, after the 1:30 p.m. break, we'll hear from Olympian Sherone Simpson about her career and what she's doing now. So you definitely don't want to miss that. Shout out to all the women listening. The man them getting enough big up already. Shout out to the women who listen to the show week in, week out. If it's your first time, welcome. For those listening on the radio through the Love FM app that you downloaded in the Google Play or the Apple Store, if you're listening on your browser on love101.org, or if you're currently watching me live on YouTube or Facebook, thank you so much for joining me today. All right, so usually I start my show with my monologue called the Danielog, but it's a pre-International Women's Day edition, right? So why you want to hear a man's voice like for an extended period? Like you don't want to hear that. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to get right into it, right? So shout out all the women again. Charlene and Marverine who already bigging me up. Thank you so much. All right. So as I mentioned, Rosheika Grant, she's a Evening Scholar, sports producer. She is an all-round star. She is currently studying at the Loughborough University, trying to get, her master's there. So we talked about that, her transition from Jamaica to studying the UK, some issues with sports administration, her plans to improve it, women in sports, and so much more. So just listen to Rosheika. Here we go. I want to start on a negative note because I don't want to end the interview there. So as people can see, you're a Chelsea fan. And, as of late, we see what's going on in terms of the Russia-Ukraine conflict and your owner, Roman Abramovich, planning to sell. Are you worried about the change of ownership and what it can do to the culture of your club?
Definitely. I would be lying if I said I wasn't anxious about it. It's a business of sports. This is not the first time he's thought of selling the club. Of course, it's the first time he's going to sell the club, for sure. The culture of the club has been one that's very ambitious. I know you wouldn't know much about that. It's been a very ambitious culture for the last almost 20 years. And so the unknown is quite, I would say, scary, because you don't know if you're going to have an owner that is as invested in the ambitions of the club versus an owner that's focused on profit versus an owner that is, of course, as you have seen over the years, we get rid of coaches so quickly because of the types of ambition that our owner has and has been developed as a culture of the club. But after we have a new owner, then I'll be a bit more optimistic towards the future, because that's a business of sports. You're going to win some, you're going to lose some. Unfortunately, we're losing our owner that has been at the pinnacle of a lot of our success, our recent success, because Chelsea is a successful club overall in terms of our tradition and history. But I am anxious about it.
Yeah, hoping for the worst for your club. Anyways, let's focus on you. So you were chosen to be a Evening Scholar. Firstly, when was that, or what was that moment like when you found out? How excited were you, your family, friends? Because being a Evening Scholar is a huge deal. So what was that moment like when you did find out?
So this was my first year applying. And so I think a lot of it felt like redemption, but it also felt like it was the right time. So I was excited, but I think when I applied before, it wasn't the right time. So this time when it happened, I had finished the interview process and I thought that if this is meant to be for me, I will be successful because I really thought I nailed my interview. And so when it happened, it was a relief and it also felt like a redemption. I actually went through the process very privately this time around. None of my friends knew. Well, very few of my friends knew because it's a lot of pressure when your friends expect a lot from you. And so they're waiting with you. So the anxiety of the situation can be way worse when there are a lot of your friends that know. But of course, everybody was pretty excited when they found out. And it going through the process is a very long process because it starts in October, November, and it doesn't end until June, which is pretty drawn out. But by the time you get to the end, you're kind of relieved more than excited. And then, of course, the process to uproot in your life and move into a foreign country begins.
Yeah, so you actually just spoke about that. And we know that you haven't seen the sun in about 7 months. But on a serious note, like, how do you manage that transition from warm, sunny weather and being around family and friends to now essentially going to a foreign country where there's a whole new culture, whole new weather, everything like that? How have you been managing?
It's been quite the transition. I moved out of my familial home at around 18 to go to university, and I never went back home permanently. So in a lot of ways, I was used to being on my own. However, of course, moving to a foreign country is completely different. Thankfully, I have a partner that really prepared me for a lot of what is to come with moving. But of course, doing it on your own is completely different than you expect. The bigger part of the transition for me was the academic aspect because I did a practical degree for my first degree. So when you have to read at least 8 academic journals a week for classes, plus work on assignments and writing academic language at a master's level, when your first degree was in journalism, it's a huge transition. And I think I was prepared, but it still was not enough preparation because it was a massive transition. It's a lot of doubting yourself. It's a lot of wondering if this is really what you're supposed to do. And it can be a little lonely because not a lot of persons will be able to understand this kind of move. You have people, you'll have friends that would have migrated, but they may have migrated into a job. So migrating into a situation where you're focusing on academic pursuits is completely different. But thankfully, I have a really strong support system between my family, my partner, and my mentor, and just the people around me. They check in on me every day. I have friends that I actually speak to them more now that I'm here in the UK than when I was in Jamaica. The other day, a girlfriend messaged me. She messaged me in the afternoon, but I was busy all day. And I guess I just didn't remember to respond. And then she called me she messaged me in the late night and said, if you don't respond to this, I'm going to call your partner. And it's like, oh no, I'm fine, I'm alive. But that's the kind of care and worry that I have around me. And I think that has made my transition a lot easier. It's not been, of course, sunny and roses, but it's been pretty good. I think I've been able to come into my own even more now by having to do all of this every day. You don't have a choice. This degree doesn't take a day off, unfortunately. And so you're always thinking of what you have to do, how you have to get it done. But it's actually, outside of the academic stuff, it's been pretty fun, I must say. I've been out and about in the UK. Been to Scotland, been to Leeds, been to Manchester United's stadium. I'm not a fan, but I've been to Chelsea Stadium. I've been out and about enough to be able to take in so much of the culture that it's been a really great experience overall for me.
So you're studying sports management, politics, and international development, I believe at the Loughborough University.
Yes.
Yes, Loughborough. I made sure to research that so I didn't come here and say Loughborough or anything like that. So how has the program been, and have you learned anything that made you say, wow, I really didn't know something like this before?
Every day. I must say, when I researched the degree, when I first decided that, okay, this is what I want my next career decision path to be. And my mentor at the time, not my mentor at the time, my mentor Dalton said to me, check out Loughborough University. They had quite a few sport management degrees, but when I started reading on this, I was like, yeah, this is the degree. And even though I was excited about it, coming here and learning the different modules, it's been even more than I expected. There's so much knowledge out there that, yes, you think you may know, but learning the theories, the concepts behind so many decision making in sports, it's kind of, sometimes I'm kind of mind blown, and I will message a few friends and tell them something I learned in class because it's like so cool. So even, for example, currently I'm doing sports integrity, and you learn about agents and the things that agents get away with, because there's no regulation in FIFA. I mean, you read about it in news, but when you're learning about the ins and outs of it, it's completely different. Mm-hmm. So it's lived up to my expectations, thankfully.
So we've had this conversation previously about our sporting administrations here, and I know that's definitely one of the areas you want to improve. Even though I sort of have the answer, what do you think are the major problems many of our sporting administrations face? And I guess the simple or maybe even complex solutions to solving it so that we can reach the level that we want to attain consistently.
I think the crux of our issues in sports administration is not having enough persons who have gotten some level of education in sport administration. And when you go back to a lot of the problems we've been dealt with across the different events and activities that are happening in sports, you realize it's because we don't have persons who are, yes, we have persons who are experienced in sport management, but they didn't learn the basics. So even, for example, recently the Gibson release, I know I heard that they said that they were basically forced to use a specific software for their ticketing. But even now in sports, in some of what I'm studying now, for example, in global marketing, you learn that you test your own tools consistently and you keep checking it consistently before you launch the product. And even when you launch it, you test it. Because I saw a few of my followers on Twitter complaining that they weren't able to get tickets. And I knew instantly that the tickets weren't sold out.
Oh,
and so I knew they weren't sold out. And so it's just about event management. When you don't have enough persons actually experienced in terms of learning the basics of it. I'm not saying everybody has to do what I did in terms of go and do a 1 year taught masters, but there are lots of short courses that I think a lot of our sport administrators would benefit from. Do some event management, do some governance management, some governance studies. There's so many short-term courses that persons, if we invest in learning, that the industry itself would benefit from. So it's something as simple as that, because I knew instantly that the tickets weren't sold out, but it's waiting until the day before an event that you realize that there are 500 tickets. And I'm sure they didn't realize it's Thursday, but the portal was open weeks before. So how we didn't realize the tickets we weren't tracking. It's just simple things like that. I think we need to invest more in just the education of sport administrators, because I admire sport administrators in Jamaica because they do it for not much. There's not a lot of rewards from doing it. A lot of them they just love sports. But we have to invest in order to be able to be efficient. Even at Loughborough, the university itself, their sports, everything that they do, they train. I have access to courses that I can be trained in event management. I can be trained in safeguarding. There are so many things I can be trained in that are a few weeks, but it's investment. So it's just about investment in the personnel themselves, human resources, and that will result in so much more efficiency in the industry itself.
All right, so that is part one of my interview with Rosheika. She'll talk more about women in sports administration, some of her plans, and more. But we have to take a break, and when we come back, more in Sports Talk.
Connect with data to do whatever you like with the new and improved Digicel Prime Broader bundles. Get lots of data for streaming and sharing with more data for YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and more. In other words, your data can done, even if you have to hotspot a friend or two. Enjoy all your favorite apps on Jamaica's fastest network. Activate a Prime Broader bundle for as low as $175 by dialing *147 from your Digicel phone or in the My Digicel app. Digicel, made in Jamaica.
God, you're good, so good to me, yeah.
The St. Luke's Church Crossroad presents the 52nd staging of their annual sacred concert under the theme, God of Mercy, God of Grace, this Sunday, March 6th, starting at 4:30 p.m. The concert features gospel artists Mark Johnson, Joanne Richards, Paulette Bellamy, John McFarlane, Marcia Hamilton, Church of the Transfiguration Dance Ministry, Pat Reed Wall, Leandre Sadler, and Sherone Russell, hosted by Mrs. Nola Philpotts Brown. That's the St. Luke's Church 52nd staging of the annual sacred concert this Sunday, March 6th. Catch it on Love 101's Facebook page, and it will be live right here on the family station, Love 101.
God, you're good, so good to me.
The following is a message from the Ministry of Tourism.
Without a doubt, tourism is Jamaica's #1 industry, and our dedicated workers are its greatest asset. Jamaica would not be the heartbeat of the world without you. As the industry rebounds from the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, we truly need all hands on deck, yours included. Vaccination holds the hope for tourism's full recovery. In addition to COVID-19 protocols, it is the only comprehensive way to fight the pandemic and save lives. I am therefore urging every worker in the tourism and hospitality industry, in all the subsectors, including accommodation, attraction, entertainment, transportation, and craft, to do your part and get vaccinated. Do it for yourself, your family, your workplace, and your community. Do it for Jamaica, land we love. Stay safe. Get vaccinated.
The preceding message was brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism.
Welcome back to Sports Talk here on Love 101, the family station. It is the pre-international Women's Day edition. Shout out to all the women listening. Rosemary, Adela, Shanice, Rose, thank you so much for tuning in. All right, so in the first half, we heard Rosheika talking about her evening journey and some issues with our sporting administration. And now she's going to talk about the role of women in sports administration, how more women can get involved in sports. And yeah, so let's go. We have seen an increase in terms of, women in sports administration. It hasn't been like a major shift, but we've seen, for example, the JOA introducing more women on the board and those type of things. But we're still, I guess, ways off for it to be equal. And I remember you telling me once that many of the associations are almost like a old boys fraternity. What do you think we can do to almost break it? Do you think that it's the media that needs to talk about it more? Do you think that, the average athlete involved should speak out more? Like, what do you think we need to do to help to elevate women to their, rightful position and let them know that, hey, we can do this too?
It's a multifold solutions, I think. One, I always say, especially in sports, for women to be able to do well in sports, we need allies. We need men to be allies. I've been fortunate enough to benefit from someone who strongly believes in women being involved in sports. We need more men that recognize that there is something missing from women, from sport administration being mostly men. When you have one specific gender making all the decisions within sports from the top to the bottom, there is things are going to get missing. You're going to, because women and male and female athletes aren't the same. So if we have only male administrators making the decisions, that's where so many of the issues come up. And so media has a role, of course. I think we have been fortunate in Jamaica to have journalists like Karen Madden, Trisha, that have consistently focused on issues that women and girls face in sports. But we need more from journalists in Jamaica, because it can't be just the women that are pushing certain issues also. It has to be, of course, both sexes coming together and realizing we have to speak about the issues that affect women and girls in sports. Two, administrators, they have to be very strategic. There are quite a few studies. When I did some webinars in 2020 that say after a certain age, after 15, women start exiting sports in droves. There are a lot of reasons for that. Women don't feel comfortable after that's when they start becoming very sensitive. Girls start becoming very sensitive about their bodies, about how they're viewed in society. There aren't a lot of policies and also just efforts to keep more women in sports. Because after they turn 15, 16, or they finish competing at champs, they want nothing to do with sports. Why is that? So we have to evaluate, why are our girls and women not staying in sports? Because they don't have to be athletes. They can be referees. They can be administrators. There are so many different careers in sports, but they don't see it as a viable option. Why don't they see it as a viable option? Because when you look on a board, 99% of them are men. So that you think that, okay, maybe there's no place for me. So you find yourself in another industry. So it has to be strategic. We have to find the girls that are interested in sports at some level, from secondary level, and find ways to keep them interested in the industry. So that's a part of it that you see it in Sport England. That's a big part of what they do. They work assiduously at keeping women in sports past a certain age, because that's an issue that it's not a Jamaican issue, because everywhere you look, sport is a grand all-male club. How do we break it? It has to be strategic. It won't just happen out of nowhere. And it won't be because women are interested, because there are lots of women interested, but it's an uphill battle, and not everybody will want to spend their careers trying to break into an industry that does not necessarily embrace their sex at all.
What advice, seeing that this is the pre-International Women's Day edition, what advice would you give to young women, or just women in general, who may love sports, want to be involved in sports, but don't exactly know how to, or don't feel like they can make it or are motivated to do that? Like, what lessons have you learned, and what advice can you give them to let them know, hey, I can be a part of this?
So the first thing I would say is, don't think you have to enter sports at the top, or you have to enter it in a specific way. I entered sports through working with Dalton. I met him at uni, and of course, we worked together. I worked with him when he was at Intercol, but my real involvement in sports began through the podcast. Now, that is what would you call it, an unconventional way of getting into the industry, but that's how I started meeting a lot of persons within the industry, and that's how I started learning more about the industry and figuring out how can I be involved in sports more. So the first thing is to kind of get rid of the idea of how you need to get in. A big part of it is networking. You may meet someone in an informal way, but that doesn't mean you can't form a relationship with them. Some of the persons that I've met through the podcast I've actually become friends with, not because I want to get something from them, but because I formed a natural bond with them. And we have common goals. We have an interest in sport. So find persons that align with your personal goals in sport, because that can help to give you so much clarity. Because that's the thing. You don't necessarily have clarity going in, but by speaking to other persons, you can get more clarity about who can help you to become this, or what are the tools you need, because you don't know it all. And I think the last tip I would say is do a lot of research. We're in the age of technology, which is awesome, and you can listen to so many podcasts. I listen to a wide range of sports podcasts. So of course you can listen to Drive Phase, just a plug. But I've learned a lot about the business of sports by just listening to podcasts, watching YouTube videos, doing what we would call unconventional research, because you won't necessarily get it all from a book. But if you find some way that you enjoy learning, do that. I learned it through podcasts, and that's how I learned. I wasn't a big NFL fan until a few years ago. I've learned so much about the NFL through podcasting. I've learned a lot about American sports overall through podcasting. So do research in your way, in the way that you learn. A lesson I can say that a major lesson for me is to not limit myself. I used to think that I could only be involved in sports through marketing or sports communication, because that's what my background is in. But over time, I learned that there's so many ways I can contribute just by paying attention and seeing where I can fit in. Not a lot of people realize that you don't need to be limited by your experience, your work experience. There's so much more out there to do. So don't limit yourself. That's the first thing that's the main lesson I think I've learned over the last few years, to not limit myself.
That was Rosheika Grant, the 2021-2022 Shevening Scholar, communication specialist, sports producer, and unfortunately Chelsea fan. Just telling us about her experience so far, her plans for the future, and it was really a pleasure to speak with her. All right, so we're going to go into another break, and when we come back, we will be speaking with former track and field star Sherone Simpson.
The Ministry of Justice offers free counseling to victims of crime. Call 876-946-0663. The time by the Ministry of Justice is...
It is 1:30.
I did a crazy attack. You see me is a real G, real go-getter. My life move non-stop. So me have to stay link and floor yard and road. And my connect and one plan link me up at home with Wi-Fi and on my mobile with data and calls to any network. At my yard, non-stop streaming my vibes are studying for my pitney them and out the road and non-stop vibes. Same way. Flow connect me non-stop for as little as $3,999 a month plus GCT. I forget it. Visit discoverflow.co. Conditions apply.
Bashko time. All the things that you need for your home with prices so low, you would never need a loan at Bashko. At Bashko. Shopping. Appliances, house with furniture and rugs, gifts and linens and glass and mugs at Bashko. Oh, you're shopping at Bashko. Whether the north or So in the east and the west, bash go. Them all over, they must be the best at bash go. At bash go. At bash go. At bash go. Giving you more.
The following is a message from the Ministry of Tourism.
Without a doubt, tourism is Jamaica's #1 industry, and our dedicated workers are its greatest asset. Jamaica would not be the heartbeat of the world without you. As the industry rebounds from the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, we truly need all hands on deck, yours included. Vaccination holds the hope for tourism's full recovery. In addition to COVID-19 protocols, it is the only comprehensive way to fight the pandemic and save lives. I am therefore urging every worker in the tourism and hospitality industry, in all the subsectors, including accommodation, attraction, entertainment, transportation, and craft, to do your part and get vaccinated. Do it for yourself, your family, your workplace, and your community. Do it for Jamaica, land we love. Stay safe. Get vaccinated.
The preceding message was brought to you by the Ministry of Tourism.
Connect with Brata! Theater Enjoy all your favorite apps and more on Jamaica's fastest network. Activate the Prime Brata bundle for as low as $175 by dialing *147 from your Digicel phone or in the My Digicel app.
Alright, connect with Brata. Digicel Prime Brata. Data can done.
The February 5-50 sales event at Home and Things is here. Take $5 off every $50 you spend. Save big on the brands you know and trust, from beautiful Spanish and Brazilian tiles to exquisite bathroom fixtures and faucets from Corona, Moen, and other top brands. Check out stylish doors, windows, paints, and home decor that inspire beauty and elegance. It's the February 5-50 sales event happening now. Old Hope Road and Constant Spring Road.
Welcome back to Sports Talk, the pre-International Women's Day edition, right here on Love 101, the family station. All right, so now, earlier I spoke with Olympic, World Championship, Commonwealth, Continental Cup, and Pan American gold medalist Sherone Simpson about just her amazing track and field career, what she's doing now, and some, I would say, issues relating to women in track and field and in sports in general. It was a really great interview. So here we go. Here, since you call it quits from track and field, is there any part of you that misses it at all? Or it's just like, I was through with it?
Daniel, I do not like that word quit. I retired. It was time for me to But no, not at all. I knew the time that I retired, it was right. And I'm happy with my retirement, and I am still enjoying the sport.
Yeah, and you ended up having such a successful career, but I was told that it could have gone differently because after Manchester, you almost accepted a scholarship to go overseas. But you decided to stay here. What led you to that decision? Because at that time, going overseas was a very popular thing, especially for athletes.
Yes, it was. I did my SATs. I was successful, but I'm very close to my family. And I said, I can remember at the GC Foster College, I was approached by Paul Francis, the brother of Stephen Francis. And he spoke with a few of us, female athletes, and say, why not come to UTech? And he spoke about what UTech, offers. And also because I wanted to go into food service, into tourism. So I said, that's a program I wanted to do. I spoke with my parents and, some parents say, go to foreign man and, do your thing. But I say, I wanted to go to UTech, and I said it felt right. And I accepted, and I went to UTech, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and that history turns out to be very positive because you end up becoming one of the stars at MVP. 2004, though, your very first Olympic Games, you were 19 going into the games, and I remember like watching the heats, and you were basically almost cruising through and finishing sixth in the final, which is very respectable. But what was that experience like running against the fastest woman in the world at the time?
Daniel, it was a dream come true because, every athlete, their dream is running at the Olympics, and that is the ultimate in track and field. And for me, running the finals, I was still 19 years old. So I just making the finals, coming sixth, that was awesome. I really enjoyed my first Olympics. The village, everything was very good. And then to get the goal in the 4x1 to top it off, let me tell you, I have to give thanks, and I'm forever grateful.
Yeah, so you mentioned that gold medal, which was our first relay gold medal in the history. And we remember the iconic gear that you wore, the entire team. It was almost like a historic moment hearing the national anthem, seeing yourself, Veronica Campbell-Brown, Tanya Lawrence, Aileen Bailey. Even looking back at it now, what kind of feeling does that bring, knowing that you guys were essentially the trendsetters?
Listen, you talk about that uniform. 2 days before we had the uniform out, we were trying them on. And, for me, being, very conservative, that uniform, but we knew once we put on that uniform, the Jamaican colors, we are going out to represent. And, the four young ladies, the four of us, not young ladies, but the four of us ladies, let me tell you, we were together. And we that spirit, and, Aileen, the vibes, and, Veronica, the prior master. So we had to go out there and we represented well. And we were so happy when we got that gold medal because we knew that we had it in us to do it. And we were so happy to do it for our country.
So you continue to improve, and then in 2006, you are now the woman to beat like anywhere. You're the Commonwealth champion, 10.82 in the 100, 22 flat in the 200 Commonwealth, and Continental Cup double gold medalist, Sportswoman of the Year. I know that there's obviously natural transition and you improve year by year, but what was that switch that made you go from a low 11-second runner to almost getting to that 10.7 mark?
2004 was a big year. And after running at the Olympics, and then I went to the World Championships 2005, I did not get a medal. And, I knew, I'm very talented, and I had a very good coach in Stephen Francis. And, he's a very good motivator. And I knew I just had to go and just do the training, listen to him. And, once I do all that, I knew that I would be a force to be reckoned with. And I must tell you that going into the 2006 season, Stephen Francis said to me in the background scene, that was from January, that you are going to be the world number one, 2000. Wow. I laughed, but he just knows, and once you listen to him and just do what you have to do, then, the sky's the limit for you.
So 2007, unfortunately, you missed majority of the season because you had done knee surgery, if memory serves me right. And then 2008, you make the team to the Olympics, but you were recommended again to do knee surgery like weeks before the Olympics, and you opted not to. And it's almost funny to me that someone who needs knee surgery ends up being a part of one of the most historic races in Olympic history, because Jamaica gets the 1-2-2. What made you decide that, hey, I'm going to push through this? How were you able to like block out that pain barrier to essentially get that silver medal in Beijing?
Daniel, you want me to get emotional? This is so bad. But 2006, finishing the season, world number one, 100, 200 meters. Then I had to do surgery right after. I was out, as you said, for the entire 2007 season, and I had to fight my way. I was still at school at UTech. I had to be using crutches going upstairs. Daniel, it was a struggle, but I knew that, I wanted to go back to the next Olympics in 2008. And I really thought most of the time I was training in the pool, with an underwater treadmill. It was hard, but I was determined, and I knew that once I'm able to do well in my background season, I just had to maintain. And I did everything that, I was told to do, from physiotherapist, a lot of extra work, because I knew that I wanted to get a medal at the Olympics. And I really trained hard. I really put in the work. And, when I was in Italy, when I went to the doctor, because it was a lot of pain, I was not able to train for weeks. Sometimes it's every other day, sometimes just 2 times a day for the week. And going into the Olympics, you need that training, but I mean, my faith strong, and I believe in my coach, and I knew once I just stay focused and just believe in myself, and just to know that I put in the work in the background session. So, and I could do it. I mean, I was feeling pain, but I tried to block it out. And when the doctor said, I recommend that you go now and do the surgery, and I said, no, if this has to be my last Olympics, this is the end of my career, I'm going out there to fight. Being in the village, that was so hard, but I prayed about it. And God just helped me. I said, God, you know what? Get me close to the start, and that is what I want. I want to get out. And I think that was my best start ever. And I had a very good support system. And as I said, I believed myself. My faith was so strong. And with God's help, I was a part of history. I mean, Jamaica 1-2-2, and forever grateful. I said, I can't say that enough. So thankful, because God has been with me, and I mean, so many things, down in my career, but I mean, I fought through, and I'm happy.
Yeah, a moment that we certainly won't forget. You speak about your faith, because after 2008, we know that you had dealt with more injuries, and obviously it was difficult for you. But how were you able to essentially stay motivated and not give up? Because we've seen athletes who will constantly have these injuries and decide to step away from it. So how were you able to almost block that out and continue the process and going?
Having a very good support system, and as I said before, believing in myself. I knew once I'm able to just do my rehab, and just to do the little things to help me to get back. After that second surgery, 2008, it was hard. It was hard. And, the doctor, he was very positive, but I can remember after to go a little further, after I won my medal in 2015 at the Pan Am Games, and he called me and he said, he did not want to tell me, but he thought that would have been the end of my career after doing that second surgery, because it was on the same knee. But I just kept pushing through. I just kept fighting. At times, yes, it came up, should I retire? But I just, when you have that burning desire, when you have that fire inside of you, and I just knew that is not how I wanted, to end my career. So I just had to keep fighting through.
So you mentioned that 2015 Pan Am gold medal, and I've heard you say before that it is probably your favorite medal. Coming from someone who has an Olympic, a World Championship, and Commonwealth medal, that sounds a bit strange. But for those who may not have heard your explanation before, why is that 2015 Pan Am gold so special to you?
Daniel, after doing 2 knee surgeries, after being out for a doping ban. I mean, to come back and to win gold medal at Pan Am, and just to know that Pan Am was not a part of the plan for that season, because I was really focusing on the 200 meters with Coach Wilson, you know, at Sprint Tech. And, you know, he said, you know what, Sherone, there's going to be, I'm not going to Europe, and there's going to be a gap. So let's just go and do Pan Am, you know? And I said, okay, let's go and do it. And to see what happened at the end. And especially, you know, my mother was there, who is such a, oh Lord. And just to see her at the finish line, listen, Daniel, it was such a, so it even made it more special, because seeing that she has been there for me, and all that I've, you know, all that I've been through, and for her to witness that goal, listen to me, it was such a wonderful moment, and I will forever say that that is one of, I mean, the highlight for me of my track and field career, the winning that medal at the Pan Am Games in Toronto, Canada.
Yeah, that was special, especially because you had beaten Barbie Peer, who was the overwhelming favorite, and then from lane 8.
Lane 8.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just God. He was just God.
Yeah. So your career obviously has been super successful. If anyone looks at your CV, they will see it. I spoke to Asafa Powell back in December about like Nesta Carter and Michael Frater, and how their CVs as well have been important to Jamaican sprinting, but they don't seem to get the recognition that they deserve or you know need, because they didn't break any world records, or they weren't constantly on top. I don't want to say that if you feel slighted, but do you believe that you deserve more credit for your accomplishments when it comes to like the conversation of great Jamaican sprinters, or just sprinters overall?
Daniel, I would say yes. And the first time I'm saying this, I can remember 2008 when they had the ceremonies and they were giving out awards, and you know, all of us were there. I went there on crutches, and remember that was after you know, Jamaica winning 1-2-2 in the 100 meters, and because I mean Karen and I were there, and because we did not win, to be honest, we were like shun aside, and
wow.
I left before, because I felt like, I mean, what we have accomplished, you know, I mean, give us some recognition. But you know, and those are the things that helps a lot of athletes just to push forward and just use it to motivate themselves, because you know, we have to believe in ourselves and to know that we're doing this for ourselves. You know, we cannot, you know, wait on outside factors to help us to know that, listen, we have to push through whether or not we'll be recognized or not, because at the end of the day, we're doing this for ourselves. And, you know, just for a lot more athletes to be recognized, it really helps to motivate them. And, you know, and just after a championships, you know, after a games, coming back to Jamaica, not getting a medal, but guess what? Just getting a personal best, just making the final, that is a big accomplishment. But, you know, in most cases, you know, you have to get a medal for you to be recognized. So I'm happy that a lot of times, especially 2004, 2008, I got my medal. So, you know, I got some spotlight, but we have to just know that, you know, as athletes, we're doing it for ourselves, and we cannot wait on persons on the outside to help us to just big up ourselves.
And I also want to touch on the financial side, because especially last year there was the age-old argument about corporate Jamaica or corporate sponsors not coming on to help the athletes. During your time, you didn't have like a whole bunch of endorsement deals, especially compared to the men who may have had 2 or 3 or possibly even 4. How difficult was that time for you? Because obviously you had to deal with all these expenses and dealing with life in general. So how were you able to manage financially during that period?
And it's all about saving and just, I mean, I grew up in the country, my grandparents, and you don't have to save for rainy days. So that is what I had to do. And thank God before I had a very good contract with Nike. But it's all about saving and having persons around you who can help you in your financial affairs, because then it is very important. And 2006 I was #1 in the world. 2007 I did not grace the track. I did not make any money on the track. So things like those. And also I said to athletes, and I'm now just motivating athletes, their education very important. At least you have a degree, God forbid you should get an injury, you have something to rely on. You can go and get a job. It's okay afterwards to just to go and work, because you're getting some money. So it's very important to save and just to ensure that you have persons around you who can help you in that aspect.
So you've essentially competed with and against I would say almost 3 generations of our sprinters. So Veronica, then Shelly, and then, even though at the latter part of your career, Elaine, but you didn't really have that type of rivalry. But someone who you have commentated at Champs, been an analyst at Champs. You see the Clayton twins, you see Brianna Liston, we have Brianna Williams and Kemba Nelson, Sherika Jackson switching to the sprints. How pleasing is it to see the talent pool so wide now, knowing that every time we go to our games, people expect a 1, 2, 3?
Daniel, very pleasing. Let me tell you, when I watched the last Boys and Girls Championships and just seeing how our athletes are performing, the recently under-20 championships in Kenya, these young ladies are doing such wonderful work. Let me tell you, the technique, everything is coming into play, and I'm so happy, and I'm very honored, very fortunate to be able to be working with a lot of our young female athletes here in Jamaica. I mean, not only Jamaica, but in the Caribbean. And let me tell you, the future looks good, and I'm happy for my country because the legacy continues. They are doing so well, and I know that it will continue for many years to come, because so many of us have retired. But look at the rich tradition. The tradition is so good. They're doing so well, and I'm so pleased to see, just watching our local track meets, and the athletes are doing so well. I just know that we have very good coaches, and we have persons, the administration, J3 is doing so well in helping, our young athletes, because the foundation, very important. And I do think because we have such a very good foundation, the sprint, the tremendous sprinting in Jamaica continues. And I just want the athletes just to stay focused, to know that, listen, this is the start, and they have to build on it to ensure that they are able to be at 3 Olympic Games, and just to be able to continue having Jamaica being among the best sprinters in the world.
So since your retirement, you've done a lot of motivational speaking. I know at one point you said that you wanted to go into sports psychology. So how has all of that been going so far?
So going into sports psychology, that did not work, because looking at schools, especially overseas, right now I cannot leave Jamaica. So I said, you know what, I want to help athletes. So what I did a course with a school in Canada online. So I'm now a certified motivational speaker, and I am now helping a lot of, as I said, female athletes in the Caribbean. And it has been going very well. I'm really looking forward to seeing the young athletes that I've been working with at the Character Games here in Jamaica in April. And I'm happy that because I was not able to go about becoming a sports psychologist, it did not hinder me from doing other courses to help me to motivate, because I just want to help athletes. I've been there, and I know that it's not all about the physical, but mentally you need that support, and that is what I want to do, and I will continue to do. I'm doing it. So that is it. And I'll keep motivating my young athletes in every aspect, and anytime I can.
So you essentially accomplished almost all of your goals, including being a mother, which you said you really wanted to be. Now that you have been in it for a while, you have your wonderful daughter. How fulfilling has it been? And what kind of advice would you give to mothers out there who might be struggling with everything? But what advice would you give to them?
Daniel, just to end the moment, I think you spoke about struggle. I mean, a lot of struggles. It's a lot of struggles, and especially for me having a 5-year-old. That's a lot of work. And with us being online for a while, listen, that was a struggle. But when you see the smile on their faces and all that they accomplish, it just gives you that sense of joy, and just helps to motivate you more to know that you're doing a good job. And in every little thing, I use it to motivate myself, because I know it is a lot of work. But as mothers, we are very strong. I mean, we don't have the capes, but we are superheroes. We don't wear the capes, but we're superheroes, because Daniel, it's 24 hours. We're always that job continues, every single day, every minute of the day. So, but it's very rewarding. And as mothers, to other mothers, I just say, keep fighting the fight. I know the struggles will come, but we know that we're strong, and that is why we're women. God put us here. We can withstand everything that comes our way. We're able just to overcome, whatever obstacles they are, and just to keep fighting, just to believe that, God is with us, and with Him, everything is possible.
Amen. So usually when top athletes have children, we have this expectation that the children will develop that fast twitch muscle as well, or they will become some super athlete. Have you seen any indication so far that she is as competitive as you, or you're trying to let her go in a different direction?
Daniel, very competitive. Let me tell you something. My daughter, going to be a very good athlete. Listen, oh Jesus, Daniel, in everything, Leanna wants to compete. I mean, doing push-ups Daniel, when I'm doing my little workout, that is Leanna working out. She loves to race. She's very competitive, and yes, I've seen it from early. And whatever she wants to do, Daniel, I'm here to support her. I would really love for her to go into track and field, follow in mommy's footsteps. But what she wants to do, I try to ensure that she does quite a few extracurricular activities, swimming, ballet, gymnastics, and whatever she enjoys. And I mean, so far she has been enjoying all the activities. And I just want her to, just to believe in herself, and just to know that whatever she set out to achieve, she can do it.
All right. So my last question is essentially, I'd love for you to give some advice to maybe some young female athletes and even young women in sports in general who might want a career from it, but might not see themselves breaking through some of the barriers that yourself and many others have gone through. So I'd love if you could just give some advice to them to let them know that it can be done.
Yes, it can be done, and also it is a lot of work, a lot of patience, and just knowing that every day is not going to be all nice and rosy. You know, those days will come when you're going to have a lot of challenges, but you just have to know that, you know, be patient, continue to believe in yourself, stay grounded, because, you know, today it's good, tomorrow you don't know what can happen. So you just have to keep, just be grounded, and just to know that, you know, once you work hard, you will see those results that you want. It's just about, you know, believing in God, and to know that whatever it is, He will help you through. And just know that whatever you set your mind to, you can achieve it.
A great way to end, Sherone. And that was Sherone Simpson, Olympic World Championship, Pan American, Commonwealth gold medalist, speaking to me today as a part of our pre-international Women's Day edition. Thank you so much for tuning in. For all the women, please enjoy your weekend, enjoy the day on Tuesday, and thank you for the mandem too. But big up on yourself. But join me next week for another edition of Sports Talk. I'm Daniel Blake, and please take care of yourself.